As we continue our week focusing on Moses, I think the thing, in addition to the Exodus, that people remember the most with Moses is the giving of the Ten Commandments, or the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. If you want to read about that, you can find that both in Exodus chapter 20 for this week, and for today, I'm looking at it as it's given in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 1 through 21. That chapter begins with our verse of the day, chapter 5, verse 1. Moses convened all Israel and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, the statutes and ordinances that I am addressing to you today. You shall learn them and observe them diligently." And then he goes on to detail the Ten Commandments. And the important thing with the Ten Commandments, and even in our culture, that like so many things, they become the part of polarizing culture wars about statues of the Ten Commandments and posting the Ten Commandments. Or, the important thing is to learn them and observe them. That's far more important than posting them. If you don't remember them, if you don't know what they are, and if you don't live by them, it really doesn't matter if you have a great big concrete statue of the Ten Commandments if you don't do any of them. And one of the things I always think of with the Ten Commandments, and if you've been listening to me for years, you've already heard me say this perhaps once before, but I do think it's important to note that the first four commandments are vertical, if you will. They have to do with your relationship with God, and God being a priority. And that's where they go. So think of that as vertical, as upward, not having any other gods before me, not making any idols, having idols, not making any wrongful use of God's name, and observing the Sabbath day and keeping it holy as the Lord God commands. So all those things, nothing else comes before God. I'm not going to use God's name incorrectly, which we know happens quite frequently. And no idols, that we're not going to make an image of God. And we're going to take time out of our week to rest as God rested on the seventh day. Then the other 6 commandments all have to do with our relationships with people, and honoring your parents, and not murdering, not committing adultery, not stealing, not bearing false witness, not coveting anything that belongs to our neighbor. And as I often have reflected, who wouldn't want to live in a community, in a country, where everybody strived to live by just these 10 commandments, where no one committed murder, everyone honored those who were their parents and in their family, where nobody stole, nobody lied and bore false witness, said bad or hurtful, wrong things about a neighbor, where people were content and weren't motivated by envy and jealousy and coveting things that belong to other people. It really would be a nice place to live. So remember, the important thing about the Ten Commandments is not just saying you believe in them or that they're important. It's learning them and living by them day by day. Your relationships will all be better if you do.